So there's a misconception that if you're single, you are incomplete, perhaps damaged, salvaged, and you won't be happy until you find your one. And that is not true. That is bullshit. It is a message that has been fed to us by media and advertising. The truth is, when you're single, you have the richest soil for growth. That's why I created this podcast. And unlike other podcasts, this one is host-driven, not guest-driven. That means I will be rotating health and wellness experts 3 times a week to give you the giant box of wellness crayons, not just the primary colors, so you can start building a meaningful life. It's time to give singlehood a cape. Today's host is someone I go way back with. His name is Sean Cardinalli. Sounds like a baseball player. He's a coach, writer, and activist who returned to coaching on sex and love addiction at the outset of the pandemic after a 4-year hiatus. He speaks the language, and his coaching style tends to lean toward 12-step recovery, which saved his own life and livelihood 14 years ago. He's also very transparent. Sean earned his local certification through Linda Bark's holistic coaching methodology and is pursuing his ICF certification and a degree in social work. So beyond sex and love addiction, Sean's practice focuses on intimacy, relationships, divorce, dating, and the creative process. Enjoy Sean Cardinalli.
This is Sean Cardinalli.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Heidi Ochtrup. Did I say your name right now that since we've known you for years, a couple of years now?
Ochtrup. You did very well. My name is Heidi Ochtrup, and you said it very, very well. That's true.
I'm going to be even particularly giddy with this podcast because, again, Sean Cardinalli, sex and love addiction coach, relationships, divorce, whatever. They already heard the big intro about me, but I am so happy to introduce everybody to Heidi Ochtrup, who is the Qui-Gon to my Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan to my Luke, but I don't intend on losing a hand. It's Heidi's my master coach. And Heidi, will you give us a little backdrop about you, and then we'll get right into the theme for the evening, which is relationship to self as a foundation for relationship to others, which is perfect for the Single on Purpose podcast. Take it away, Heidi.
I'd love to. Thank you, Sean, for inviting me to your podcast. I always just feel so flattered when you call me your master coach. I love it. You were a wonderful student. I love all of my students. So thank you. And I just love that we've continued our relationship past the time when you were in the school, and you've really just developed in so many wonderful ways in your coaching path, and just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here today. A little bit about me. I've been a coach for over a decade now. I love coaching. I love the coaching mindset. It is now integrated fully into my life. I've done leadership coaching, individual coaching, and I train coaches internationally for Wisdom of the Whole Coaching Academy, which is the school you went through. And that just allows me to stay in the coaching space. And it's really helped me to really build my own life. I've been coached for over a decade now, and I can attest to the fact that coaching creates lasting, fundamental change. It's powerful. And then in addition to coaching, I now have a certification in quantum healing hypnosis technique. I got that in the past year because I love helping people connect to their subconscious. I feel like that's what I'm doing in coaching all the time. And it's like the super fast way to do that. So
the express to the shadow realm. Everybody. So as you heard, Heidi taught me, and I love how you were talking about the coaching. You're not just a coach, but it's integrated into your life. I feel the same way about the therapy that I have been subjected to. Subjected seems like they tied me down and waterboarded me. I didn't mean it that way.
That's not what we're talking about here.
Whoops. That's the Guantanamo episode we'll have. That's later. No. So dark humor. I'm going to get kicked off. Anyway, so no, not subjected to, but that I was, that I learned that I was I don't know what else to say besides subjected to. But anyway, I had great therapy, and then 12-step, and then 2 of them saved my life. I always say that. Didn't save a marriage, but saved my life. And now I've got a great divorce besides, and a healthy dating and romantic and relationship life. But when you say integrated into your life, I love that, because that's what I feel about. That's what I feel about my 12-step and the therapy, and the 12-step and the therapy is what had me pivot to you and Linda Bark's Wisdom of the Whole. And you guys put it in my ear so much. I say it to my clients all the time now and in group, that I watch Walking My Talk, because the things that I convey to the clients, I gotta fucking do myself. Or it's not even about imposter syndrome or being a charlatan. It really is like, how the fuck can I put out all this stuff about relationships, about being single, about having a relationship to self, if I have no fucking idea how to practice it myself? And so I really thank you all for instilling that and teaching me. And I love how you said it was integrated. That's awesome.
Yeah, amen. Can I just say something about walking the talk? Because that is my passion. And it's not that you have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be out here talking to people about how they can make their lives better. I think that's something that a lot of my students get worried about. But I believe that it is best for me to be involved in my own change when I'm helping others change. And to, it's being in alignment. Walking the talk is about being in alignment, living a life in alignment with my values. Yeah, I'm super passionate about that.
Well, I want you to know I tout that shit all the time. So you done good as far as this student. And I do also want to say, everyone can be jelly who was also a student with Heidi, because I doubt you went to motherfucking Paisley Park with her. So boom,
no,
that's
great. That was the best. I was just thinking about Prince, because it's really time for some new clothes for me. And I was like, who can inspire me? Prince. I was so inspired, man. That shoe collection. Oh, God.
I knew you were going to talk about the shoes. I knew you were going to talk about the shoes. Because this summer, my girlfriend and I are going to come back and visit you and Simba in Minneapolis as soon as we can, before the fucking winter, though. And that is definitely going to be a stop. Get back to the Purple Mecca, the Midwest Mecca, and I slipped about the shoes, and I was like, oh, don't say anything about anything on the tour. I don't want to give away anything, because it's best to just go in blind. But back to the lecture.
If you're coming to Minnesota, you gotta go to Janhassen and go see the home of Prince. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. It was fucking awesome. It was awesome. So where can we start? Where can you start and guide us through this discussion that, again, is totally up for single on purpose, which I think you get the ethos just by the name. It's a pretty great fucking name for the book and for the podcast series. Sort of like mindful, intentional singlehood, and not being weighed down or bothered or self-shamed by I'm by myself or I'm alone. I think it's about being peacefully alone as opposed to lonely, or solitude as opposed to isolation. But I will shut the fuck up and let the master speak about this relationship to self.
Well, where I would like to start, I wasn't really thinking about this before, but in your introduction, you just talked about having a successful divorce. And I also had a successful divorce. I know that sounds like a weird place to start, but super proud of my divorce and the way that I did it. And the truth is that once I started in the coaching world and started to really use coaching to examine my own life, I did discover that that I really did need a divorce. I don't know any other way to say it. I was married to a very wonderful man, and I also needed a divorce. And so I did get that divorce. And that was where my journey of, having to be alone really started. My journey of self-discovery and kind of building that relationship to myself started prior to that in my marriage. But I didn't have the space that I needed to create that true relationship to myself in that situation. So I got a divorce, and I had never been alone. I had 4 children. I had children when I was really young. So I essentially moved out of my family home and right into having my own family very quickly. And it was terrifying. I remember the first few weekends when my kids would go back to be with their dad, and those days were like years long. They were years, sometimes every minute was so long. And I remember my sister was so wonderful. She was very supportive of me. And I just felt like I had left shore and I was swimming and I just was not to the next dry land yet. And it was really painful. So that was in 2016. So that is 7 years ago now. And really, really 7 years ago, because it was January when I left and we separated. So I'm really proud to say that it only took me 6 years to get anywhere near comfortable. I mean, it was a slow process becoming more and more comfortable with myself and building my relationship to myself. But recently I really feel, and this has been a very exciting thing for me, that I've come to a point where I'm really comfortable being with myself. I'm embarrassed to say that. I'm 52 years old and I feel sort of ashamed. I have felt ashamed that that I wasn't able to do that. My sister was like, I don't know what you mean. Like, why don't you like to be by yourself? And sure enough, like when I had a full house, man, if my husband would leave with the kids, all right, like a weekend to myself, glorious. The idea of being alone and not in a relationship, absolutely terrifying.
Was there any codependent shit going on at all?
1,000%. 1,010%. I didn't know it though. I just remember I did start dating, and one of the men that I was dating had a wonderful friend, Lynette, and we were talking once. And I remember she was talking to me about John Gray and the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which I thought was the stupidest title of a book I'd ever heard until I read it. It really is. I don't know what your opinion, and we don't even have to talk about it, but it did help me understand a lot of things. But she looked at me dead in the eyes one time. And she's like, Heidi, she's like, are you codependent? And I felt like she had said, like, looked at me and said, like, Heidi, are you a fucking idiot? I'm sorry, I don't know if we can swear.
Yeah, we can totally swear. Are you fucking kidding?
Yeah. She's like, are you a fucking idiot? And I was like, me? No. And then, I did any little bit of research on it. I was like, wow, I am wildly codependent. And, started to learn about attachment styles. There's a lot of information on that. I'm in no means an expert, but I am from what I've read, an anxiously attached person. And a lot of that really fit. And I did work with a therapist for quite some time and just did a ton of work on my own to slowly build my relationship to myself and get comfortable being alone. And I'm sure there's aspects of codependent. My parents are just beautiful codependents. They're the most beautiful. Like, I know that sounds terrible, but I have parents who met when they were 18 and 19, and they have a really dynamic, wonderful relationship, but they are one person. They're really enmeshed. And so that was my example of marriage and a relationship. And so it's really taken me a long time to unpack all of that, but I feel like I made progress. Finally this year, I feel like I made progress that I can see and understand.
Well, from what I fucking know, I think you've been having a blast. I think you're a fucking, a pillar for others to look toward for singlehood. And now you're not single, nor am I. And I was going to just say the only thing about like, I finally got it at 52. I mean, I'm going to be 50 this year. And I tell my clients this a lot when they're despairing, when they're just like, it's catastrophizing, it's black and white, it's on or off. And I say, you know what? And they're also like, the work of either being single or being attached healthily or whatever the fuck they want to do, or being married or divorcing. And they're like, is it always going to be, someone just said it in 12-step meeting this week. Is it always going to be this much work? It feels like I'm always heavy lifting. It's work. And I go, one, it beats the alternative in my case, as far as the addiction shit. Like, I'd rather be, what do we say? My worst day in sobriety is far better than my best day in addiction. But on top of that, I just get into these rare, sublime moments or days where I sit there and I'm like, and this is where Summer and my girlfriend and I, like, she fucks with me about fate and all that. And I'm like, don't go to fate. Don't go there with me. But I do think, well, fuck, whatever's happened, and however long it took and however painful it was, I mean, fuck, at least I'm here now, because had I, say, gotten money right ahead in Hollywood at like 25 when John Kim and I were actually like writing our screenplays, right? Like our late 20s, trying to make it then. Or had I made it, I don't know, at 35, when we had one kid and one on the way. And I don't know. I probably would have been a mess. I would have had the opportunity for contentment, but nothing near the sort of spiritual and psychological and emotional contentment that I have these days. And I will second, maybe you said it somewhere in your share, but I mean, it ain't fucking easy, but it's just way better than the alternative. And I just feel so much more in tune with folks like you, the other coaches and therapists. I love working with my clients. I learn from them probably even more than they fucking like get any like little nuggets from me. And I'm just grateful. And it took me a long fucking time too. But yeah, I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
So
there's so many things that I just thought about 5 things and then I just lost them all now that you stopped talking. But well, first of all, I think.
Sorry.
Oh, I lost it. Well, I think part of what's throwing me off. So I don't really have a boyfriend. I do have a friend and lover, but we don't really, we're monogamous. I don't even know. Yeah. So, but we don't really call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. And I honestly,
you're monogamous, but it's just the two of you.
Correct. Just the two of us.
Okay.
We've been friends for like a number of years now, and we have a wonderful relationship. And I think part of what is making that relationship wonderful is that it's undefined, which always kind of irritated me with other people. I'm like, that's lame. But for me, it'd be lame if it was like, well, anyway, I won't get into what other definitions.
Like a situationship. I can't do undefined.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to explain how you guys don't define it, because like some clients are asking me about situationships, and I'm like, that's just bullshit. That's just like not seeing what it is, and then everyone can just be in this vague space, and someone's usually taking advantage of someone else as a result of that. I'm not saying that's what y'all are doing, but that's why I wanted you to share. Right. How do you keep it undefined?
Right. I think because we're not future planning, and I think it's unique to our situation. I have kids. I'm not going to have more kids. They're all grown. We have an age difference, pretty significant age difference, but we're not talking about where this relationship is going. It's a pretty present moment relationship that's solid, very respectful. We do a lot of soundboarding, but we're really focused on we're really living our independent lives. We each have pretty intense goals for ourselves right now, and we're very focused on that work. But we really enjoy sharing and soundboarding and supporting each other and cheerleading, like totally gaslight each other all the time about like, you can do this, you're going to be amazing, So it's a really supportive, creative, fun, positive
gaslighting. Positive gaslighting? I think you just made up a new phrase. I think everyone listening is like, what the fuck? How is that a good thing? But I think I know what you mean. Like fucking with each other.
Yeah, that's kind of his term. But it's true. We pump each other up. We support each other. It's just a fantastic, religion. It's really, it's wonderful. It's been wonderful, but it could end tomorrow. I mean, like I don't feel like it's going to end tomorrow.
Oh no, that's on record for all time. But I understand. I mean, I get it. I know you all.
It's significant to me. It's significant to me, and I'll tell you why. Because most of my life, I've been super relationship focused. The primary focus for me was my love partner. Even while I was raising my children, my husband, I was always anxious and focused on my relationship. And this is the first time in my life that's not true. I'm focused on my work. I'm focused on myself. I'm focused on my goals. I know what I want for myself. And part of what is beautiful about relationships and why we want to have them is because we want to be witnessed. I feel witnessed. I feel supported, but I could do it for myself now too. I don't know. It's just, it's really different. Yeah. It's really different.
It's like an intrinsic instead of extrinsic motivation. I'm so extrinsically motivated. Not in relationships as much anymore, but, other shit. And I don't want to go on a tangent because what you were just saying right now reminded me, we can loop back around to your very theme, relationship to self as a foundation for relationship with others. Is what you were just saying. I was going to ask you, why then are people, you were just talking about, you were so, whatever you want to call it, enmeshed in it, saw yourself in relationship to the other, to the partner in the relationship, less individualized. I don't know if that's fair to say or not.
Yeah.
But why are people so fucking scared or ashamed to be single? Are we scared of what we're going to dig up, just like you and I have done our own digging and now we help other people dig? What the fuck is why is it such a big deal? I always go to acculturation, but I don't want to fucking sit here and answer. I want to hear what your wisdom has to say.
You know, I didn't feel like I was afraid to be alone. I felt like I really, really, really wanted a relationship. So I know those are the same thing, but it didn't feel like the same thing. It didn't feel like I was afraid to be alone, and it didn't feel like I didn't love myself. I thought I did love myself, but we don't know what we don't know. And I think going through those long weekends and that time that I had to be alone, and then learning how to date. Honestly, I'm a serial monogamist, and I had an early 7-year relationship. When I was 17, I got into a relationship that lasted for 7 years, and then I had a 20-year marriage. I didn't know how to date at all when I got divorced. And so I had to have my first experiences casually dating. And then I had my first boyfriend, and then we broke up. I didn't know how to break up with anybody. I'd had breakups with men I had children with. You don't break up. You just change the relationship. And I had so much to learn. And so, but a lot of it was just about myself, learning to be with myself. And why are we afraid of that? Being with yourself is simple, but it's not easy. And there's distraction thing. It's just all the things we distract ourselves with, we can distract ourselves with relationships also. And I don't know. I don't know why we're so afraid of it, but I know it's so worth it. When we talk about shadow work, and God, it was probably just a year ago that I really sat all the way down with myself when I was having one of those terrible moments where I did feel deeply, deeply alone. And I just thought it was going to kill me. Really, I just have so much compassion for people who have fears around being alone, because it really felt like I was going to die. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. It just felt so bad. And presence. When was it?
When was that fear that
it was last year. I went through that whole slew of changes. It was before my apartment burnt down. It was a few weeks.
I'm gonna dust off the screenwriting career, and it's gonna be a straight up biopic I won't go into it. We're not gonna accidentally put you on blast, but you went through some fucking shit last year. You went through a gauntlet. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. And so it was kind of early in the gauntlet. Not all the chips not all the shoes had fallen yet, but
everybody's it started with her house burning down. Oh, fuck.
That was halfway through. It was so bad. So I was just alone in my apartment in northern Minnesota, and it was just a weekend, and it was just the nighttime, and it was just time to go to bed. And I was sad, and I was having loss and grief, and I felt alone. And I was terrified of my feelings. I was terrified of my feelings. I think that's what it is. I was terrified of my feelings. And Byron Katie, who I always tell you about, I love Byron Katie.
So
love her. And one of the things that she helps people get to is and something that really, really helped me all the way along is just to know that I'm deeply okay. In that moment, nothing bad was happening to me. I was thinking about sad things from the past and sad possibilities for the future, and feeling so all the bad, I'm unwanted. Nobody likes me. I'm ugly. I'm going to be alone forever, and, terrible scenarios. And then I was what's happening right? Nothing's happening to you right now. I just remember going outside for a minute and just looking at the moon and coming back in and sitting on my bed. And I was you're just a woman sitting on a bed. Nothing bad is happening to you. You're okay. And you're here with you. And her whole point is if you're over here worrying about everybody else, who's with you? If I'm sitting there thinking this person left me, or this person doesn't want me, or, my family and my parent, all the bad things, I'm over in everybody else's lane thinking about how they think about me. Who's with me? Nobody. That's why I'm so lonely. And so I started to be with myself and, And these are all things I heard other people say that before I really went through it, I was like, that's dumb. I don't even know what you mean. But like when I sat down and did it, people, you can't think your way through this. You have to do it. Whatever way you do it, you have to show up for yourself, and you have to take some actions. I don't care if it's like put your hand on your cheek, wrap yourself in a warm blanket, but do something. You can't think your way through it, and you can't just read a book about it. You have to get in there and do it. I think.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Part of what you're sharing, it sounds like relationship as a distraction. Maybe not specifically you sitting on the bed and having this revelation, but for the people who, just can't be alone or are scared, or when they are, all the creepy crawlies come out. That makes it sound like relationships are a crutch as opposed to like a wonderful thing to discover when you're ready and they're ready and it comes together. And I don't know. That's why I just loved when you brought up this whole topic of we have to have the self foundation in order to then to better relate to others. And I found in my dark night, which was also 21 or 22. That year.
Last year was a stupid year, but it was wonderful. Sean, where would we be without that? We would be nowhere.
No, totally. We ended up at Paisley Park, and what was the restaurant you took me to with the best fucking food? They could have rolled me out of there. I ate so much, and I didn't have
Stanley's.
Oh my god!
Just these
cheese and what are the little crisps called? I don't know. Anyway,
tater tots. For all of you not from the Midwest, tater tot, or like, wasn't it tater
curlies or something? Curls, the little crisps or something? I don't know what they were. Anyway, it was fucking amazing. And
cheese curds. Sorry. Also Midwestern cheese curds.
There you go, cheese curds. I had never in my life heard of those. I was like, I got to eat them just because I don't know what the fuck they are, and I got to have an experience. It's like you go there,
fried cheese curds, so good.
They're so goddamn good. But so it's interesting how you sort of sat up on the bed and walked outside and had this sort of like, almost sounds like it just washed over you. I don't know if that's how you experienced it, but I somehow got to a lot of self-compassion because I was single for a long fucking time, and I never say how long it is. But and sometimes I would get just a tiny little bit of imposter syndrome when coaching about relationships, because I'm like, wow, if I actually was in one, it might help. But no, I mean, I've been married for plenty, and I'd have plenty of relationships, and I was dating too. But there was just a long break, and plus add 2 years for COVID time. Fuck that. Like I get 2 years that you can actually really subtract. But anyway, there just came a point where I had, again, dark night. You and a number of people were like my angels I reached out to. And it was because I was doing so much like shadow depth. And I still haven't read all the books on shadow work, but that's what I was told I was experiencing. And when I hit that, it was just me and that. And how do I surrender it and release it and get rid of the self-loathing and these deep, I mean, from birth, like fucking, issues, weights. It felt like somehow. And the somehow is the 14 fucking years of therapy, 12-step coaching, relationships, dating, marriage, divorce. But really the therapeutic stuff and the spiritual stuff, the self-compassion kicked in until last year, maybe the end of 2021 as well. I would think to be compassionate, be nice to yourself. In 2022, when the shit was really hitting the inside of my brain's fan, I was like, oh, and I would hug myself. Like figuratively and literally, and it just came. And I actually called my sponsor, my therapist, who's since retired, but I can still call. Still got the hotline, the little red Batman phone, if I need. And I did call him the other day. Bill, I said thank you. I said, Bill, you've been telling me to be nice for fucking 10 of the 14 years of this process. You saved my life, and thank you for all the soundboarding. Thank you for all the tools. Thank you for constantly reminding me, stop beating yourself up, right? Like being depressed and then compounding it with self-loathing, or being anxious and then being like, why am I, being mad about being anxious. I would constantly compound like that and stay in my head. And somewhere in those dark moments, I actually shared with you and other good friends. I was like, that was one of the toughest years of my life, if not the toughest. But I was off the floor. I was not pinned to the floor like you're talking about. My thing, kind of similar to what you mentioned, was get out of bed. As long as I got out of bed, and just started the day. I was good. Because a lot of people, you're in your head, or you're about your singletonness or whatever it is you're in your head about. We'll just stay there and sleep all day. And I want to hug those folks. I was almost there, but I just get out of bed and start the day and see what happens.
So it's simple, but not easy. These things are simple. They're simple. And it compounds. I really agree with you. So, and I like that self-touch, like that soothing, like rub both your arms, that bilateral, stimulation on your arms or your legs. Self-soothing really brings you back calms your nervous system down. I think that's a huge, huge, simple and really important thing. And telling yourself you're safe when you're having those overwhelming feelings of loneliness, and wanting to fill the void, simple statements like, I am safe, and wait till you can feel that in your body. Feel safe in your body. And slowly, the things that you need to know to build a good relationship with yourself, the things you need to let go of, anything from the past you need to examine, new pathways start to build. And it takes time, but it happens. It does work. And I will say that one of the things that used to drive me really crazy, I wanted a great relationship. I just wanted it all my life. I wanted my marriage to be great. I wanted a great fucking partnership. I just wanted it. And people are like, well, if you want a relationship, you can't want it because that won't come to you then. And I was like, God damn it. If I want a job, I go look for a job. If I'm hungry, I go look for food. How the fuck is this different? So like when people are like dating, I want to find, people want to find the one, or they want a great relationship. And they're like, you can't want it. You can't want it or it won't come to you. Don't you always hear that? Maybe that's a woman thing. That's a relationship thing.
That sounds.
I am shocked
that you have not heard this. Well, I know, if you're talking in the realm of like law of attraction shit and that kind of stuff, like just, be open to it. But people are saying you can't want it. Why can't you want it? That doesn't make sense.
Gosh. What relationships? We must have different feeds on our social media. Like, if you're out looking for a relationship and really, really, really want it, it is really hard if you're a little too desperate, maybe for a relationship. It's not going to, I don't know. Oh,
so it's like for the wrong reason. No, but like you're out there for the wrong reason. You're out there with probably not ego, but you're out there with a little, you know what? Alan Heron, good friend of mine, I talked about it. We had our little Dating on Purpose podcast. And part of that was like just going out to see whatever the fuck. Like just put yourself out there, mitigate your expectations, and be authentic, or it's gonna be all fucked up and you never know what really might have happened, if there really could have been a charge or not, or a connection. But then also what you're talking about, don't be out there. I kind of went on a rant. I felt bad. I kind of bared my teeth a little bit. I was like, God, people are going to hate what I just said. But that sort of desperation. So maybe if that's what you're talking about, the want, if that's what they're equating it to, because people go out like, oh, I would say need, like, oh, I need this. How about you just, if it happens, it's great. And in the meantime, be good with yourself. And how do you be good with yourself?
If you've been single for a long time and it sucks. Like, hey, why isn't this working?
Come on.
Okay, so for women who are trying to find a good relationship, I want a good relationship, and they're having a hard time finding a good relationship. Or like
you're making air quotes. I want to tell everybody you can make air quotes around good.
Okay, good, yeah. Or like I want to find the one. I hate that I did the one. I want to find the one. Why don't I ever find the one? And so. Yeah, I guess, wow, I'm shocked that we are not on the same page about this concept that to find a great relationship, you can't really go look for it or something, or like you can
or cannot. I mean, I don't know if I'm in disagreement. I just don't think I've heard, and it's interesting that you're saying maybe it's a female thing or a femme thing, but I can't want it.
Maybe I'm saying it the wrong way. But the bottom line is, finally, for any of you out there that know what the fuck I'm talking about, I'm going to say it was true. It was kind of true because my relationships really improved when I started to have a better relationship with myself. And that is true across the board. It's not just dating relationships, and it's family relationships, work relationships, intimate relationships, all the conditions in my life. I used to try to go outside of myself and get my husband to change, get my children to change. I want my family to change so that I could be happy. That doesn't work. And it's not that we don't negotiate around details in relationships. Of course we do. However, I more and more and more, when I'm feeling dissatisfied with some aspect of my life, I go inside. Where do I feel that in my body? It's very somatic. What are my emotions around it? What are the things I'm not, and I work maybe with a coach or somebody else. Because if it's irritating me, it's inside me. There's something to fix in here. There's nothing to fix out here. There's something to fix in here. And it's so exciting. Now I can look forward to it. I'm really to the point where something kind of fucked up happens, where I get irritated, something pokes my buttons. I'm like, great, I'm going to go inside and figure out what's here. And then I do some journal. I mean, I have a whole variety of exercises that I use, or maybe I get some coaching. And it's so satisfying. I'm sure you've had this experience, Sean, where you like put 2 and 2 together, or you peel the onion all the way down far enough and you're like, oh, there it is. Here's the thing. And you've experienced, for me, I know when I've got it, if I start crying. If I have the realization and then suddenly I am crying and laughing at the same time, that is a healing moment for me. Maybe, I don't know, I've never talked to anybody about that, but I don't know if other people have. I've never met anybody that has that experience, but it happens every time when I have a deep realization that's like, it heals me. Like I got to it. I understand it. I got the lesson. Doesn't mean I might not have to do some more work on it, but it's a significant moment, and it's this release. It's amazing. And things really have changed in my life. It was not fast, but I've seen real, genuine change in my life.
I love it. And I think that's encouraging to folks listening, and to not give up on themselves or think that there aren't outlets or means or coaches. And I know you said you can't get in a book, and that's totally true. But I mean, there are just plenty of tools and community and support. I mean, I'm so all about, get your people. I know everyone's like, get your tribe or whatever, but I mean, I have an important network of folks, and I lean on them.
And I love books, and I read. It's just that I intellectualized my feelings. I thought I could think my way through letting go of things. I could think my way through experiencing my emotions, but darn it, if I didn't have to actually feel them in my body. And I was like, how do you feel an emotion? How do you release an emotion? Like I had no idea. And I just wish somebody would walk me through it a little bit. And I could read about it, but I just had to sit down and sit still and let the emotion come up and not die. And I didn't die. Guess what? I didn't die.
And you didn't die.
I sleep bad for a few minutes, and then it passed. Like it did. I don't know.
I love that you mentioned the don't die thing. That was so much a part of two things. That was so much a part of my recovery process, not doing harmful things to myself or others, thinking that I was going to die if I didn't act on that impulse. And that's the extreme, because that's in the addiction compulsive realm. But it's the same for anybody else who, again, is having that discomfort, that struggle, that I always equate with, how my ex-wife always talks about Buddhism, that's sitting there perseverating on a struggle, as opposed to just having pain. And like you were saying, let it go. Like this too shall pass is a big 12-step thing. And it takes some work or some training, for lack of a better word, to get to that part and to get to process and let things just go through. My ADHD motherfucking brain, I never thought I was going to be able to sit or lay down and meditate for 10 minutes to an hour ever. And I had this amazing fucking coach. I actually learned how to do it the same time as with my buddy Alan. And I was like, oh my God, I can't just let that go. I had a client the other day, Heidi, that was so fucking annoyed. They were like, I don't know what the fuck you mean by surrender. You have to surrender the trigger, surrender the feeling, surrender the compulsion or the, wanting to pick up the phone and call someone unhealthy. I'm like, and I got to explaining it, but it also takes the practice of it. And I'm like, so if you just sit here and argue with me about a term, then yeah, we're going to be like what you were saying. We're just going to be intellectualizing all this. If you can allow yourself to be vulnerable and feel and just and feel even the painful things, and then let them go. Eventually, they will eventually go. And I mean, go ahead.
Well, I'm just realizing like what a huge part of me learning to do that absolutely had to do with you. I think that I came to you quite a bit right before,
What?
like a year before this. Yeah, man, because my therapist, I remember, gave me a book one day, like Facing Your Love Addiction. I was like, what? Not like I already had accepted the codependency part, but like love addiction is codependency, like on steroids, kind of like you probably explained it much better. But I didn't know what the fuck that was. And so I read the book. Oh, this is true. Mm. Um, and then thankfully, my partner also read it, more on that avoidance side, and it was really insightful. And then, a bunch of shit hit the fan in my life, and I did have to deal with some time of being alone, and that's why I did feel so, because I realized when you said the only time you felt like that was dealing with your addiction. So yeah, if you are a person that is addicted to love or like addicted to relationships, being alone feels like you're going to die because it's an addiction and you're without it. Yeah. And it did feel like that. And I have so much compassion. My daughter has and knows someone in her circle who experiences that as a younger woman. And my daughter is like judgy about it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, not judgy. She's a great friend to her friend. She has tons of emotional maturity, but it's very irritating to her. And I understand why. And I was like, do you think it might be because like I as your mother also exhibited some of these tendencies, and maybe it's irritating to you for that reason? And I have a lot of guilt about that. And like I said, there were times in my life where I was so focused on my relationship, I wasn't the best person I could have been in other parts of my life because it was such a focus. So yeah, during those times, I remember coming to you. You told me about like the Drop the Rock book and, just like take it one day at a time. Yeah, you really helped me a lot. And I went to your class, your group, through Chat Lab. I went to a number of your classes, super helpful, really, really, really good. And other classes, in that group, the codependency class, amazing, So yeah, getting those groups, reading books is great, but you can't get all the way through it without sitting down with yourself. You can't, or I couldn't have, I could not have done it. Just thinking about it, reading about it, and talking about it. I had to spend time alone.
Yeah, no, necessary. And thank you for sharing all that. And thank you for your kudos. I'm terrible with complimentary shit, and I will work on it, but thank you. And and you, of course, have been an amazing friend and master coach who I learn from all the time. We'll have to come back another time and talk about it's not really hypnotherapy like people think. It's not like making people bark on a stage in front of like the college, campus. But we'll have to come back and talk about that. And we have a few more minutes left. And one of the things that you said in this last 10 minutes or so, the way I received what you just shared was like there's an authenticity, or there's a realness, or there's an integrity to going through the experience you're talking about, learning how to be by yourself, and then going out into the world with that. It was when we were talking about the want, like the want or need, or you going out, compulsively or with a scarcity mindset, right? Instead of like abundant. And again, of course, I can't help but go back to the recovery stuff. The clarity that you were talking about, and the self-assurance and self-compassion and confidence you're not about to put yourself out there like you did, in our middle age, frankly, like we both are. It reminds me of recovery, because what recovery has gifted me and others going through this process, and especially because we're going through behavioral addiction, and especially because it's about love and sex and relationships and intimacy and all the shit we're talking about this last fucking 45 minutes, is that there's less of a veil. Not that we can ever be 100% objective with ourselves, but when you talk about yourself in the marriages, and then once you got to really know yourself outside, it reminded me of, I go into these relationships and out into the world now without a lens. When I was in the addiction, or without a veil, when I was in the addiction, there was always something right in front of my eyes. Like there was always something, because I had the shame and I had the fear and I had the loathing, and that, again, it doesn't have to be addiction for the people listening. It could be whatever their insecurities, whatever their peccadillos, whatever their hangups are. Did they go through abuse, neglect, whatever, whatever their personal experience is, lived experience. And that's the benefit of all this work. And again, learning how to just sit with yourself, because then I go out and I'm just me, and it's vulnerable and it's fucking scary, but it's better than, again, going out and there's a front or a shield or a veil, or God forbid, you don't even know that that's what you're looking through because you've never done some inventory, right? You've never done some self-reflection. You've never allowed yourself. You're like, fuck it, let me just get another relationship and not fuck with the bat cave in my head. So I don't know.
Yes.
I'd like you to sort of like take us out.
Yeah, I realized I started telling that story about my daughter and her friend, and I didn't finish it. I had so much compassion. My daughter's so frustrated with this person in her friend group, but I had so much compassion for her because I was just so blind to that for so long. And sitting down, doing the work, I'm so much more comfortable in my own skin. That's another tried and true phrase, but it's amazing to feel that and to be able to go out into the world. I go out alone a lot and just people watch, and comfortable with myself. I'm comfortable in my skin. And the bottom line is like all that work that I did to love myself, uncover stuff, go through hard times, face difficulty, be uncomfortable. I really embraced discomfort, and it created an enormously strong foundation. And from that foundation, my relationships are so much healthier. They are so much better. I have lots of work left to do. I didn't arrive. I haven't arrived at anywhere. And this is work I do daily. And it's just more enjoyable. It's still painful and scary and hard, but I can trust the process. I trust the process of it now. And I know that it is going to get me into better and better situations. Yeah. I think better relationships all around.
Perfect. I think that's totally a perfect way to end. I mean, you brought it right back to relationship to self as a foundation for relationship to others. And I love it. And I appreciate your time here. And everybody, I don't know. I wish everybody had a Heidi Ochtrup. Ha ha. I got the real one in my life. But no, I think you're an amazing coach.
My website is
an
below.
amazing person.
Click on the link.
We'll put all the links and all the things. Yeah, exactly. We'll do all the links and all the things when the show comes out. But thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your wisdom. And I mean, we got to do this again. I don't see why this needs to be a one-stop shop. We'll come up with another topic and talk about it.
Absolutely. I would love it. And thank you for your friendship, Sean, and all the work that you do out in the world. You're just doing really valuable work. And I just love you, my friend. I really do.
I love you too. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks, Heidi.
Yes.
I hope that episode was helpful. Hey, listen, if you want to share your singlehood journey, if you've gone somewhere and come back, if you have revelations and wisdom, please share your story. It's going to help other people. Nothing makes us feel more connected than hearing other people's stories. So just send me the audio of your story, and you could just record it directly from your phone and email it to theangrytherapist@gmail.com. Also, if you want our Single on Purpose newsletter, go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life. You will get tools and articles and other people's stories, and also Zoom links to private gathers. So if you want to join our community, go to singleonpurpose.life. Thank you for listening. Be well. We hope you tell a friend. Hey, before you go, I want to invite you to the Single on Purpose private community online. It's off of social media, no ads, no algorithms. We got forums, we got live groups, we got webinars, and we have social hangs. We also have offline in-person hangs happening soon. So check us out. Go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life. And I will see you inside.